Hey folks, today is Friday, June 16th, 2023. As usual, my name is Jake, here to talk about all the video game news that has been going on this week. There is a lot to talk about. Some of it is a little bit of a catch-up from the chaos last weekend and earlier in the week, but I am back from seeing all the Summer Games Fest stuff, so there is a lot to talk about, but there is also just some regular old good news. So, the first story involves CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077, specifically the new expansion. As we now officially know, the new big expansion, Phantom Liberty, is releasing September 26th. It seems like, with a reporter speaking to CD Projekt Red, this is the one that's going for redemption, to essentially redeem the original Cyberpunk 2077 launch and all that. If you've been playing, if you've been jumping back into the game, you could say it may be partially redeemed by now with it being cleaned up, but that was just them fixing what they already sold. Now with this, they're trying to really double down and truly sell the dream of Cyberpunk, it seems. This is from a pretty good piece from Jason Schreier from Bloomberg, talking to the Polish developers, just breaking down what they're doing specifically, and it's worth noting that the game's new director, Gabe Amantangelo, this actual expansion did go through some leadership changes and stuff like that, but he said, and I quote, "There's an absolute dedication to what's needed to be done to make it right." It's also worth noting that apparently this Gabe Amantangelo is going to also be directing the Cyberpunk sequel whenever that comes out. CD Projekt Red has been public that there is plans for another one, but as of right now, we're getting this expansion. There were plans for more expansions, but this seems to be the big one, and judging from this report that I will link in the description down below, as well as people I hung out with at the Summer Games Fest thing who got their hands on the game, it does seem to be a pretty significant overhaul in a lot of ways. Maybe not if you look at it on the surface, but they're really kind of changing up how the class system stuff works, some RPG elements like that, character upgrade stuff, some cyber psychosis stuff. So I'm curious to see how this actually shakes out. I definitely feel like CD Projekt Red wants to return to the former glory, where everyone considered them the golden child with The Witcher 3. Obviously, some people are still cool with them, but after that rough launch, I'm sure at this point they're playing for keeps. But another weird random thing I wanted to highlight that popped up on social media this week is Nicolas Cage and Hideo Kojima have met up. They're collabing. I mean, we don't know if they're collaborating or anything like that, but Hideo Kojima posted photos of Nicolas Cage visiting their studio. Now, celebrities, famous directors, all types of people visit Kojima Production Studio. I mean, it seems like a freaking overly expensive, stylish studio, so why wouldn't you want to go see it? But it's significant with Nicolas Cage and the timing, at least in my opinion, because we just saw Nick Cage on stage last week at the Summer Game Fest thing. I talked about that in the last video. He was talking about being in Dead by Daylight, which, like, whatever. If you like Dead by Daylight, that's cool, but for me, not that exciting. But what was exciting is that he does have an interest in video games and seems like he would like to be in more. He kind of said so on stage. So I'm wondering if, like, people have been calling him up now being like, be in our game, and maybe he's meeting up with Hideo Kojima to talk about something. There are fans out there speculating that he's going to have a little cameo. He's going to be scanned into Death Stranding 2. Who knows, man? It could be absolutely nothing. And I'm biased just because, well, number one, I like Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions, but really I just want to see Nicolas Cage in more games. So I want it to happen. It may not, but it was a fun thing we just wanted to throw out there. Because, like, could you imagine? Like, holy shit. Anyway, Armored Core 6. Yes, we finally got official, real, juicy gameplay. The developers have released a couple of minutes just showing the game in its glory, no BS, seeing a variety of different scenarios, traversal, and it seems pretty cool. I obviously am not a hardcore Armored Core fan. I only played 2 back in the day, but people are already taking this apart. VatiVidya has a really long, interesting video about this stuff, and the sentiment coming out of Summer Game Fest is pretty good. For me, I was just hoping the trailer that they originally showed for the game, I was hoping that those visuals would actually be in-game, and it seems like they kind of are. I think FromSoft art directors, designers are just on another level, so that's cool. Also, it's mechs fighting and shooting and blowing each other up, and it seems like we're getting that. Thankfully, though, we don't have to wait for the game too much longer because it is dropping soon and we'll definitely be talking about it in videos. And in some cool news, definitely worth mentioning, one of the co-founders of Rockstar Games, Dan Houser, you may remember him from the earlier days, but who left after Red Dead Redemption 2. He actually is jumping back into games, seemingly. He has a new studio, and it's called Absurd Ventures, and it's set around, and I quote, building narrative worlds, creating characters, and writing stories for a diverse variety of genres, without regard to medium, to be produced for live action and animation, video games, and other interactive content. So while it might not be all just video games, it's still cool to see him back in action with another team. Also just a big fan of his writing, so if he's back into writing again and creating stories, we're definitely going to keep an eye on this. Hopefully we have some cooler stuff to talk about with this in the coming years. And then in more boring news, the Activision Blizzard Xbox acquisition thing continues to just kind of be a thing. As of right now, United States federal court has essentially put a restraining order on Microsoft from finishing the deal, actually buying Activision, specifically because they need to continue working through things. There was like a whole thing where the FTC requested a preliminary injunction to continue to kind of poke holes in this. And yeah, so if we were looking for something like this to actually go down in June or even early July, it seems like that's not the case. Microsoft did go on record saying that this actually might be a good thing because it can speed the process up. That may just be PR speak, like maybe they're not externally freaking out, but freaking out internally. Who knows? I've said it before, this thing could continue to go on for a long time. At this point, I don't really care what happens. I would just like to see a timely resolution one way or another. Next up, some cool little things I linked in the description down below, just worth mentioning. The first is a new trailer for Squirrel with a Gun. Remember that game that went viral like a couple of months ago where you played as a squirrel with a firearm, multiple firearms? Well, there's a new trailer. It still seems very, very much like this is a small indie work in progress, but you still can't help but laugh. And even if it is just as kind of still a little half-baked looking like this or work in progress like this, I would play it like that. Hey, next up, we got a really cool sponsor this week. This video is brought to you by Witchsong Miniatures. They are My Mini Factory's #1 most subscribed to tribe by a mile. Now, most 3D printing subscriptions charge something like $10 or more a month. Witchsong throws that completely out the window at just $1. But all their figures are really sweet. They're big, detailed, and beautiful, and if you're more of an experienced veteran 3D printer, they're really cool to have because they all look really awesome. But if you're new, or you're thinking about it, or you're experimenting, the buy-in price of like $1 is nothing, so you can build up a bunch of designs and have them ready to go. And for $1 a month, the files are absolutely awesome. I mean, we've been printing and putting together some really cool stuff, as you can see on screen here. This is one of my favorites, Lord of the Harvest, because he's just kind of like a spooky Halloween dude. I love him. The welcome pack gets you cool stuff, but specifically for gameranx viewers, if you join this month, they're offering up 2 of their most popular other miniatures totally free: Ursulox, Worm Hunter, and the massive Anchor Whirler. And if you're not sure yet and you just want to check them out, you can actually download their famous faceless King model right off the tribe page, no subscription necessary. But if you join this month, you're getting 6 minis for like $1. It's crazy. Not only that, but Witchsong's also doing something really cool. For every new subscriber Witchsong gets this month, they're donating $1 to the Able Gamers Foundation. So it's a win-win. Whether you're an experienced 3D printer or you're just diving into this stuff for the first time, definitely go and check these out. All you gotta do is click the link in the description down below. Get started for $1, grab your welcome pack, and big thanks to Witchsong Miniatures for sponsoring this video. Also, launch trailer for Layers of Fear. That is officially out probably at the time of this video, where it's kind of like a compilation, remixing and updating of the Layers of Fear games, apparently with better graphics, new surprises, stuff like that. I know for a fact there's a lot of horror game people that watch these videos, so I just wanted to give that a shout. Also, Final Fantasy 16 did get a demo over the weekend, absolutely worth pointing out. People have been jumping into it, seemingly loving it, and your save is actually going to transfer over if you commit to buying the full game. So, number one, I am pro demos. I think try before you buy is always a good thing, but I'm even more pro demo when it does consumer-friendly transfer your save, things like that. Now for this other part of the show, just a little bit of a catch-up, because last week we talked about the Summer Game Fest live stream, the big Jeff Keighley thing where things were announced on stage, but there were so many other events that went down. Devolver had a showcase, PC Gaming showcase was a thing, but I just want to touch on, I'll link all those in the description, but I just want to touch on some of the bigger ones so that we didn't miss anything, because it's worth noting that Xbox had their showcase on Sunday, and we got a good, proper, real look at Avowed. This is their big new fantasy RPG that a lot of people forget. I often do myself, that it takes place in the Pillars of Eternity universe, but they're still kind of like doing their own thing, and you know, kind of making their own spin on an Elder Scrolls. They've basically already done that. They've mastered that. I mean, they are the people behind New Vegas and stuff like that. We've had the Outer Worlds, so I'm thinking this is a safe bet. Also, Clockwork Revolution is a first-person shooter, kind of decision-making, future-affecting RPG by the people behind In Exile, the guys behind Wasteland 3, so they definitely know what they're doing, but very cool to see them shift to something like this, a weird, crazy, ambitious steampunk first-person shooter. City Skylines 2, also, I just have to mention it, it was dropped there very quickly. Like, there were a bunch of games, we can't talk about all of them. Atlas had a huge showing with new Persona stuff, new game from the Persona people, but yeah, City Skylines was one of my favorite smaller things announced at the show. It's got a release date and a ton of detail. Then, of course, there was Fable. I'm happy to still see confirmation that Fable exists. I didn't really need a big flashy trailer like this that was kind of just all cinematic. I guess even if there's like a couple of snippets in there that are gameplay, I don't really care because like I still don't know essentially what the game really is. What I do get is that the game is still leaning on that charming British humor. That's the reason why I love the original game so much, but yeah, I want to see more. Then, of course, there was Starfield. We got like 45 minutes of Starfield gameplay. There's an absolute ton. It shows basically how every system works in the game. So if you had kind of questions as to what the game really is, it seems like they answered most of those things. I said in my video on my channel, but I'll say it here, I do think it's shaping up to look pretty decent now. I think all those aspects make it really intriguing. What's not landing for me yet, though, are the characters and the story. It just kind of looks a little like, meh, whatever. Then, of course, there's the whole 30 frames per second thing. So if you're playing on console, and if you're on like an Xbox Series X and you're expecting something more beastly, nope, they seem like they have made it locked at a hard 30 frames per second, apparently because it is a very complicated and complex game. But there is that. Again, there was a lot more from the Xbox showcase. We don't have time to run down everything here, but we did do a separate video on this, so I will link that in the description down below. There was also a Capcom showcase where they showed some Dragon's Dogma 2 gameplay, and they delayed Pragmata. Remember that game with the astronaut? They basically put out like a big fancy new video that was still basically what you'd see on social media, like a yellow image of like a we're sorry, we're delaying the game. So there's that. But last but certainly not least, Ubisoft had their own event on Monday of this week, and they showed off a lot. They showed off Assassin's Creed Mirage gameplay. I actually got to see more of that gameplay behind the scenes, and it is exactly what you expect. It is that older style of Assassin's Creed. Little things here and there, like using the bird, are going to, modernize it, but ultimately you are walking around crowds, you're sitting on benches, you're assassinating just like one or two people in controlled, tight missions, and you're navigating rooftops through parkour and trying to evade detection, and that's what I want from Assassin's Creed, so I'm still happy to see this back, and it is very much just looking like what we expected. I'm curious to see if they're going to do like some little things here and there that can actually make it feel fresh while a throwback, but we'll have to wait until we see the full game. Then there was the Prince of Persia, the Lost Crown game. This is like the 2D Metroidvania action Prince of Persia game that I know a lot of people were put off by like the hip hop in the trailer, which that doesn't bother me. I like that type of music. And also the fact that you can't play as the prince. Like the prince is not the focus of this game. I do still think that's like a weird choice, but once I saw gameplay and then once I got my hands on the game, I was really into it. If you like Dead Cells, if you like Hollow Knight, if you even like the classic 2D Prince of Persia, like you might be pretty into this one. But I'm sure more information is going to come out about that soon. I'll talk more about my hands-on impressions somewhere else on the podcast I don't know, somewhere. But yeah, keep an eye on that one. Speaking of keeping your eyes on things, keep your Na'vi eyes on Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which has been revealed. It is definitely Ubisoft doing like a Far Cry game, but Avatar, which shout out to the Far Cry Primal people, all of us out there that liked Far Cry Primal, and people made fun of us. Now we're getting that again, but it's like an Avatar game. Granted, this Avatar can also use, like, guns. But yeah, it seems like a cool, interesting extension of the Avatar property. I like Avatar. People dunk on Avatar, but I'm kind of into this. Specifically because of where it feels fresh, exploring this land. Like Pandora is pretty wild looking. This is the new Western frontier. You're going to be able to fly through it. You're going to be able to ride through it on mounts. And yeah, I just hope this thing can live up to the bigness that is Avatar, if that makes sense. Then there was Star Wars Outlaws. This is Ubisoft's and Massive's big AAA Star Wars game with open world elements. We got to see you play as this woman who is kind of like a smuggler, scoundrel, bounty hunter, Han Solo type. Third person shoot her way around, hop on scooters, speeders, then eventually hop in her ship in real time, fly up into space, get into an aerial fight, and seemingly go to other planets. That seems really big. That seems really ambitious. I am still very skeptical. A lot of this gameplay to me just seemed a little bit too good to be true, but I'm also trying to be very critical because I'm also a Star Wars fanboy, so I usually just kind of lap that stuff up. So I don't know for sure yet on this one, but there's a bunch of video out there for you to check it out. And like I said, we're going to link all this stuff in the description down below so you can be caught up. But that's all the news we got this week. We got to get back to work with a lot of other stuff, but I want to hear what you guys think about everything this week, from the fresh news, specifically around the Xbox Activision acquisition thing, to the Armored Core 6 gameplay, to all the stuff that went down earlier in the week. From all those showcases, what were some of the highlights for you? We'd love to hear down in the comments. Please hit us up. We're down there as much as possible, but things get a little crazy. So if you want to find me directly, find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jake Baldino, and the Friends Per Second podcast, where that should be up by now or over this weekend, where I go in depth about a lot of the stuff I saw at the event. But if you like what we're doing here, talking the news every single Friday, we are always here for you. We've been here for 7, 8, I don't know how long, but we never miss a Friday, so be sure to keep your eyes peeled, hang around. Thank you for being here. I'm Jake Baldino. Have a great weekend. Be safe, be well. Pizza's on me.